Hello, my name is Emmanuel Bidet. I work for Orange at group level and I am VP in charge of core networks. My main challenges in the next years, in the next months, will be to introduce 5G SA and to develop network security and network automations for the 26 networks that we operate in Europe and in Middle East and Africa. And it is this last topic, network automation, that I would like to talk about today. My first message is very simple. We need automations. Indeed, we live in a world where everything is getting more complex every day. Our networks are getting more complex every day. We have many technologies, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. We have very complex end-to-end chain, like the VoLTE one. And we have to do different kind of integrations. Vertical integrations, horizontal integration, all this is very complex. We live also in a world where everything is getting faster every day. For example, historically, network changes were not that frequent. A new technology every 5 to 10 years, a new release every 2 years. Today, vendors are proposing to have a new release every month, even on critical network functions. Another example, hackers are becoming more and more creative, and we need to be faster in resolving security issues. We also need to improve our efficiency to master quality of service and customer experience while reducing our costs. In this context, marked by an increasing complexity of our networks, by a faster evolution, by the constant need to improve our efficiency, we cannot work anymore as we did before. Automation is absolutely key in that transformation. Automation is key to improve reliability, quality of service, speed, and agility. With the increasing complexity of our networks, some operations are just not compatible with the time of a human intervention. If we had the time needed to identify the problem, to find the solutions, and to execute the operations. By automating new services setup, we will be able to generalize on-demand services. And there are also other benefits that are maybe less glorious, but that are real improvement. With less manual operations, we will have less human errors and then less outages in our networks. On savings, with automation, less resources will be necessary to cover the same technical perimeter. And as network complexity and customers' demand are increasing at the same time, automation will allow us to focus resources where they have more added value on more complex tasks. In networks operations, teams spend less time on solving problems, on reacting to alarms. They now develop strategies to operate the network, to drive the network with customer-oriented KPIs, while the algorithms manage the technical KPIs on individual events. It shows, by the way, that automation introduction goes necessarily with competence developments and changes in the organizations. As we said, automation is key, but automation does not come for free. It is a running investment in time and human resources. A balance has to be found between the complexity that will be induced by automations and the gain to automate. My second message is also simple. Automation is a big challenge. First of all the technology should be covered. Legacy technology, interesting to cover because they still represent an important amount of our operation costs, and by the way, of our revenues, as well as new technologies because they will provide the gain we need on the mid and long term, and because it will be probably mandatory. How will it be possible to manage manually slices in 5G when you will have to manipulate objects in the RAN, in the core, in the transport, and to commit at the same time on very demanding SLA? Second, all processes shall be addressed. It means that we have to automate as much as possible all the RAN processes, change management and provisioning, monitoring and policing, but it is also important to work on the lifecycle management, design and development, acceptance and integrations, deployment testing. It even impacts the processes that are transversal to the company between marketing, customer care, and network. These changes will also have an impact on the competences. New competences as software and system engineering are obvious, but existing skills on integration, validation, architecture, or operation will have also to be enriched. These changes will have also an impact on the way of working and potentially on the organizations. It will probably be very efficient to have together builders and runners of the same technology, very close from each other. The challenge is big. This is why it is important to be ambitious, but at the same time very pragmatic and opportunistic. Automation in network is not new. Historically, network changes were not that frequent, so that automation techniques were primarily used for high volume items such as access equipment line or customers. As an illustration, the device management solution used in Orange allow to deploy more than 1 million firmware updates overnight, which is critical for security. During last years, we have been working on configuration, network, and service testing. However, the integration of network automation techniques is still very embryonic. The production of a service still relies on a set of declarative tasks. The reality of network automation today is essentially based on resource allocation techniques, from the execution of configuration script for scheduled maintenance operation to the management and execution of a routing policy. So now, how can we be at the same time ambitious, pragmatic, and opportunistic on network automation? First, we have to continue by making quick wins. Robotic process automation is a good way. It could look like a stupid solution, and of course it is not a long-term solution, but it remains very simple to implement and at the end very efficient. Second, we have also to pursue a way to automate as much as possible our processes. Many network functions are now delivered in a virtualized mode, and some are even cloud native. It is a good opportunity to improve on the short term the lifecycle management of this network function. A lot can be done on acceptance, on CI/CD. It has already started, but we need to go faster with the vendors to enlarge the scope. We take all the opportunities to do it. I will take an example. We have launched an RFP on 5G core last year, at the end of last year. In this RFP, we are analyzing not only the progress on 5G new features, but also, of course, the ability to automate easily testing, building, and configuration processes using an open system and sharing more between vendor and Orange. Third, we are going to use intensively artificial intelligence. It will be very helpful for the legacy solution that we have in our networks, but also in the automation of new technologies. We have different use cases in operations, much more, of course, in POC, trial, on this in different topics, predictive network maintenance, intelligence remote diagnosis, network cybersecurity, roaming intelligence, RAN optimization, on energy savings. 4, we have to build a global framework in order to facilitate the introduction of more automation. 5GSA is clearly an opportunity that we have to take. With the introduction of 5G, and especially with the arrival of a new core network, we will have a new paradigm. We have a component that is conceived to be implemented and operated in a cloud-native mode. Keeping our old processes will, of course, limit the promises brought by 5G. As we manage at the same time new architecture, new features, new technologies, new processes, it will be important to slice the complexity and to phase our expectation. My experience is that the step-by-step approach is clearly to be encouraged in order to keep the control of this transformation. As operator, we have to be volunteer in the direction of automation, but we have to do it mastering the associated risk. And we have many risks. First, as before, we may have outage, unexpected traffic, human errors. And the problem with automation is that can lead to very large crises that become out of control. So it is important for the operation team to keep the overall management of the network, to understand what is happening in any situation, and manage properly the access to the different tools. Second, we have new technological potential risk. We need, for instance, to prevent from mad robot risks. This is why control loops and feedback mechanisms are so important. Third, automation implies, as I said before, a large transformation of our operation. This transformation in processes, in competences, and in organization takes a long time. It has to be anticipated and conducted step by step. That is why in Orange, we have been investing a lot in the last year in competencies in developing new skills. And lastly, as some automation system will be above all our existing system, new dependency will appear, and this is clearly a risk to be linked on a long term to a vendor. Openness and interoperability are important to preserve. We strongly believe in standardization body and open source community in order to set up an open ecosystem. It is crucial to avoid any technological or vendor locking. Orange has been implicated for many years in different standardization bodies. In that domain, the work done in HC is important in order to build and share an automation framework key to make the bridge between the architecture world and the open source world that need to work together. Orange is a founding member of the HC industry-specific group, ISG, on network function virtualization, and Orange, I must say, is the chairman of that ISG. We also strongly believe in open source initiatives like OpenNAV, Open Platform for NAV, and ONAP, Open Network Automation Platform. Orange is one of the main contributors to the ONAP community, and we are investing more and more on ONAP. I am convinced that we need a higher involvement of operators and that operational and security issues should be more taken into account. On Orange side, we have 2 new PTL, one on the integration project, in particular in charge of providing testing environment and support for the release use cases, on one on the ONAP operation manager, which is responsible for the lifecycle management of ONAP platform itself. These 2 projects are important for the operators. Of course, the goal is not to create the perfect tool, which will never exist, but it is to enrich and consolidate a tool that can effectively be used in operation. On our side, beside our engagement in the community, we are pre-industrializing a non-app solution, or an app for Orange on app, with tests in operation in Egypt and Slovakia. As a conclusion, I would say that network automation remains a body grail on the long journey for operators. At Orange, we invest in automating networks from design to deployment, operation and maintenance, and we expect huge benefits from this automation. Capacity to manage complex, highly versatile networks, agility in network management, maintenance, quality of service management, saving in OpEx. But we are conscious that it still requires significant development from the industry. My message is that we need collectively to work on various topics. Network orchestration is key, and I invite you to contribute to an app to make it even more operational and secure. Automation of legacy shall not be forgotten because it provides significant savings, and I invite all manufacturers not to forget it. Open interfaces is mandatory for operators to integrate modules in their networks, and we need to develop standards and specifications for these interfaces. Automation is a collective journey of all industry actors in which cooperation is still and will remain key. Thank you very much.